this is Mr. Roberts' neighborhood.
Hey, well, welcome back to Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. I have quite a few projects, and I'll flip the camera around and I'll show you everything that we're going to be working on. Today is something completely different. It's been a while since we've done anything, and I guess we'll just go over everything we got going on. Here is a header project that I was working on for the 63 Buick Superstocker. I got a couple of things set up for that. I'm going to end up fabricating my own headers for this thing because there isn't any available for a 350 Buick and a 63 Special. Surprise. And I don't think there's even headers for any engine in a 63 Special. But so these are two sets of Oldsmobile small block headers that I scored at a swap meet for peanuts. You can see the rusted ones here are pretty dang beat, and I don't know if these are jet hot coated or they're just painted silver. I think they're just painted silver. They're pretty beat as well, but not as bad as the rusted ones. And then there's my flange for the 350 Buick. I was kind of surprised to find out the Oldsmobile had a tighter flange than the Buick because the bore spacing on Oldsmobile is so much bigger, but apparently the ports on the heads are a completely different layout and they're much tighter than the Buick 350, which is surprising because it's got a really small bore spacing. But then I got these collectors, same swap meet. I'm going to try to fabricate these headers, make them somewhat stepped based on the math or whatever comes first. And then we're going to add these slip-on collectors to have ourselves a header that's actually a true race header. So unfortunately, the largest flange I can get for a Buick 350 is 1 3/4 inch. I think that's what those are, 1 3/4 inch. It might be 1 7/8. But still, they're not all that big. I do believe it is 1 3/4 because I think all the pipes are 1 3/4, and that's what I ordered the flanges last. But it's been sitting a while. I'll also take the evac system off of the rusted ones, and we'll swap them over to these new collectors here. And that way we can have a pan evac system that will work on our 350 Buick. Okay, the other thing that I've done here is the rear end's still out for work. I don't have all the pieces to assemble the clutch assembly and the bell crank or the Z-bar for those of you. And so when I do the header, it's going to essentially be the driver's side or the passenger side header first. And then once I get the Z-bar assembly, I'm probably going to end up having to just buy something and then fabricate it. Then I can work on the driver's side. But the passenger side here, I got my LT1 starter down there mounted. Just cleaned it up a little bit of kerosene and it looks pretty good. So now I can have everything on this side that I need to start with the header. So I'll start on this side header first. And you can see pretty beat, right? But I'll be damned if I'm going to spend $2,500 on a set of headers that cost more than the car itself. Okay, engines on the stands. All right, this one is the 300, the Mule 300. It was just to test essentially heads, cam, intake, all that stuff swapping around, and then the what if 350 Buick heads with the single plane intake manifold, which is right back there on the shelf, you can see. Okay, the cam for the What If 300 is right there in that comp box. Professor P ended up taking a 68 Buick 350 camshaft and then regrinding it and cutting it down to fit in a 300 Buick using the 350 Buick profile. And it has the 300 Buick profile on a 350 Buick cam blank, and that way with the valve arrangement that the 350 Buick heads have, it'll work with that. So now I have that. I also have a new set of lifters for that camshaft, and we're just going to swap the 350 Buick heads on, and then I have that is a set of push rods right there from Trend that actually fit the combo. I don't know if they will when I get done. The heads I was going to use were a no bueno. So, okay, turbocharged Buick 350, the Boat Anchor 350 is what this project was called. still in the bag. All the parts and pieces are there. I just kind of moved them to one spot, trying to get this thing together. It needs the timing cover fixed, or actually finished. It's already been fixed. It just needs to be drilled and ported and assembled, and a balancer installed, and then an oil pan mounted on the thing. I can't decide if I want to do a deep sump pan or if I just wanted to do a stock pan, because originally this was a stock motor, and that's what it still is a stock motor, stock cam. Everything is just stock stuff with EFI and a single turbo. But I really do like the idea of holding more oil, but I don't know if it's really necessary. It is going to kind of give up the ghost around 4,500 or 52, somewhere around there. So maybe I'll just stick the stock pan on it because it's easier. And then we'll get to fabricating some exhaust on this one as well, because I have the exhaust manifold here on the driver's side, and we're just going to use the Y-pipe crossover tube that goes underneath the oil pan on the Buick and then come up this side. That's how the original turbocharged Buick ones were, where it just had a crossover tube from that side over to here, and then it had all of it kind of mounted together. And you'll see how I'm going to do it. It's going to be pretty basic and simple. I got a 4-inch exhaust pipe, and we're just going to run one pipe from the other side, which should be about 2 1/4 inch. And then I'm just going to take this stub right here, run it in the end of it. So you got 2 pipes side by side, weld it all together. And then the rest of the ports here will just dump into the log, essentially. And then you would just mount a T4 flange up here with a dual scroll setup, and it should be pretty dang happy. From there, I'll just make a couple brackets that hold it to the head, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with water pump and alternator and all that stuff when we get it all together. But yeah, it's just coming along, right? Okay, stage 1 455. This is, if you remember, bone stock stage 1 455. I kind of was, it's actually for my father's car, which I'm just trying to get the motor together using the factory cast pieces and just have myself a real nice factory stage 1 455. As much as it's going to get driven, it's not really anything gonzo. The only thing it has on there is an aftermarket TA pan, and it's not really aftermarket. It's just the 1967 400 came with a pan like this. It actually held an extra quart of oil. And so that's the only reason I have it on there, is because this is a stage 1 455, and it will spin pretty good up to about $5,000, and it has all the oiling mods done to it, so it should be happy. And the better the, the more oil and the better it flows, the better it's going to be. Other than that, though, the special, nothing crazy going on here. It's still kind of just sitting there as it was last year when I pulled the rear end out. Now, I am going to try to clean off all of this graffiti paint right here. We'll touch up what we can. We'll put the piece of trim back on. We'll remove this, whatever this stuff is. It's like a plastic sheet that's taped, or was originally taped to here. Now it's just grown on there. Same thing up there. The roof, if you can see right here, this was a vandalized abandoned car, right? So someone's jumped on the roof. I'm sure if you look at the drawing here, they're probably less than 12 years old, but they jumped on the roof, and I'm going to try to straighten that as best as possible. And you can see it's oil canned all the way around. There's a big dip right there, probably from a child-sized foot. That's kind of what probably that is. But they got it pretty good, because it's actually got the support brace is bent down, if you can see right there. So I'm going to do my best to try to straighten it as best as possible and get back on this dude. All right. Also, there was one of our viewers that supposedly had an entire rear panel here that went across, because this one is damaged like Godzilla chewed on it or something. So if you're one of our viewers and you got one of these things, let me know, because I'm still interested. My car hasn't gone anywhere, and I still need one. And I guess the closer we can get to the center of the tail light here, the better it's going to be. But I don't know. My welding and body skills are not what you would call pristine. But as long as I can get it somewhat straight, it gets covered up with a panel. that would be fine. And it's going to be better than this hammered piece of dog crap. Other than that, though, there's just little odds and end pieces in here from that I took off the car, a few trim pieces that it took me a while just to get the correct trim. But I did get the steering column in it, and it's all back together. I do have to have the drag link and all that rebuilt. I got the pedals mounted. I got some windows. I'm hoping come close to fitting. They're out of a 63 Corvair. Not sure if it's going to fit, but they were like 20 bucks and they were there. And I just grabbed them at the junkyard. All right, the entire transmission tunnel, we're going to have to finish cleaning that up. I have a whole tunnel outside out of that Cadillac Fleetwood. It's a 94 Cadillac Fleetwood. And then I got a bunch of odds and end pieces. You know, I got to rebuild some wheel cylinders. We need to get a master cylinder on here. And I need to get the clutch linkage done. And then I can finish the header on this side. So, would be nice. All right, well, see you later.